All right, get ready, because we're about to take a deep dive into the world of spirituality.
Sounds exciting.
And specifically, we're going to try to figure out how to separate the real deal from the stuff that might, lead you down the wrong path.
Yeah, that's a really important distinction to be able to make.
For sure. And to help us with this deep dive, we're going to be looking at a document
Okay.
from the Sacred Atlantean Brotherhood.
Oh, wow.
It's called Distinguishing Authentic Spirituality from the False.
Catchy title.
Right. I know. I know.
Atlantean Brotherhood, though.
I know. It does sound a little bit like something out of a movie, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
But that's what we're here for.
Exactly. That's why we're diving in.
We're diving in. We're going to figure out what it's all about.
Sounds good.
So think of this like we're trying to give you a spiritual radar, right?
Yeah, I like that.
So you can kind of navigate through all the different teachings and ideas out there.
Going an inner compass.
Yeah, exactly. An
Yeah.
inner compass. Love it.
Yeah.
So this document, it starts off with a really powerful statement. It says
Okay.
that true spirituality puts God first
Mm-hmm.
and everything else is secondary.
Wow.
What are your thoughts on that? Like as a foundational principle?
Well, it's interesting because while the specific words might differ, across different traditions and stuff,
Right.
that basic idea, that idea of connecting with something bigger than yourself,
Yeah.
that's everywhere, It's like recognizing there's something more, some kind of force or power, some
Wow.
source of wisdom
Hmm.
that's bigger than just us as individuals.
Oh, yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah.
But isn't that kind of the goal of most spiritual paths anyway?
Right.
Like whether you call it God or you call it something else, isn't that kind of what people are searching for?
Yeah.
So how do we figure out, like what's the real deal and
Yeah.
what's
What's going to lead us astray?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's a great question. And it's where this document gets really interesting.
Okay.
And honestly, a bit more serious, too.
Okay.
It starts talking about what it calls motivational teachings disguised as spirituality.
Okay, hold on. Let's unpack that a little bit.
Yeah.
What exactly are we talking about here?
So we're talking about these teachings that sound really good, right? They tap into all those things that we want,
Like what kind of things?
like wealth, power, status, you name it.
Okay.
And they promise to, make your life easier, more successful, but the way they do it, it's kind of like they're twisting real spiritual principles to make them fit.
Right.
To make them fit this materialistic agenda.
Oh, I see. So like those gurus who say, follow my program and you'll be a millionaire.
Exactly.
Or those workshops that are all about like worldly success and not really about inner transformation.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly the kind of thing we're talking about.
Okay, so what's so bad about that?
Well, the document, it talks about the harm these teachings can do.
Okay.
And one of the first things it brings up is something called spiritual confusion.
Spiritual confusion. What does that even mean?
Well, just imagine feeling lost, like you're not sure what to believe anymore because you've heard so many different ideas, so many conflicting things.
Right.
It's like, your own sense of truth gets all muddled up.
Okay.
It's like you're in a spiritual hall of mirrors and you can't even tell which reflection is really you.
Oh, that's a powerful image.
Yeah.
So you're saying that kind of confusion, it can make you vulnerable to other things too.
Exactly. And that's what the document calls emotional manipulation.
Emotional manipulation.
Yeah, and this is where it gets really tricky.
Okay.
Think about, a leader who tries to isolate you from your friends and family,
Oh, wow.
saying they're holding you back spiritually, or maybe they make you feel guilty all the time, like you're not donating enough money or you're not dedicated enough.
Wow. That sounds pretty intense.
It can be.
And what happens if someone gets caught up in that kind of stuff?
Well, in some cases, it can lead to what the document calls a loss of faith.
So not just a loss of faith in that particular teacher or group,
Right.
but like a loss of faith in any kind of spirituality.
Exactly. Like they've been hurt so badly that they give up on the whole thing.
Yeah,
Which is, it's a really sad outcome.
it is. It is.
And then, of course, there's the most obvious harm,
Which is,
just being taken advantage of, financially.
right, people using spirituality to make money.
Exactly. It's like any other con, really. They prey on people's hopes and dreams, and and their desire for something more.
Which brings us back to that spiritual radar you were talking about.
Right.
Like, how do we develop that?
Yeah.
How do we know what to trust?
It's all about being discerning. It's about learning to, to really look at these teachings,
Yeah.
to evaluate them, to figure out what's really going on.
So enough of the doom and gloom.
Okay.
Let's talk about the positive stuff.
Right.
What does this document say about what real, authentic spirituality actually feels like?
Well, it talks about a lot of great things,
Okay.
but one of the key things it emphasizes is this God-centered focus.
Okay, and they're clear that this isn't about, blindly following some guru.
Exactly. It's about developing a personal relationship with the divine,
Mhm.
however you understand that, It's about that direct connection, that sense of something bigger guiding you.
Got it.
Yeah,
So that personal connection is really important.
it is.
What else did the document talk about?
Well, it talks about inner transformation.
Okay.
This isn't just about feeling good or manifesting material wealth.
Right.
It's about genuine growth, about becoming a better person.
So it's more about who you are than what you have.
Exactly.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so inner transformation.
Mm-hmm.
What else?
It also emphasizes a strong sense of community.
Community.
Yeah, so in a real spiritual community,
Yeah.
there's this deep sense of connection between people.
Mm.
It's not about competition or ego.
Okay.
It's about supporting each other, celebrating each other's successes, and creating a safe space for vulnerability.
This is about, recognizing that we're all on this journey together.
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and that sense of connection, it often extends beyond just the immediate community.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it kind of spills over into this broader ethical awareness.
So it's not just about, like, feeling good within your own little spiritual bubble.
Right.
It's about how your spirituality affects how you act in the world.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that our actions have consequences,
Mm.
and that living in alignment with our values, that's a big part of spiritual growth.
Yeah, that's where the rubber meets the road. Right.
Mm-hmm. It's easy to, talk about spirituality,
Right.
but it's how we act that really matters.
Absolutely. Actions speak louder than words.
Yes,
Right?
sir.
And authentic spirituality, it should show up in how we treat each other, how we care for the planet,
Mm-hmm.
how we live our values every day.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
What else?
Let's see. The document also highlights personal empowerment.
Okay, personal empowerment, what does that mean in this context?
It means that, you're not relying on some leader to tell you what to think or what to do.
Okay.
You're encouraged to think for yourself, to develop your own discernment, to trust your own intuition.
So it's about, like, cultivating that inner authority,
Exactly.
that ability to make your own choices, to figure out your own path.
Exactly. And that's a big difference from some of those, those potentially harmful teachings we were talking about.
Right, where they don't want you to question anything.
Exactly. But in an authentic setting, questioning and critical thinking, those are actually encouraged.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they're seen as essential tools for growth.
Wow.
And it's through that process of questioning, of seeking,
Mm.
that we arrive at the final characteristic the document emphasizes, which is joy and fulfillment.
Joy and fulfillment. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to distinguish this from, like, the fleeting happiness you might get from,
Right.
from buying something new or achieving some kind of external goal.
Exactly. This is a much deeper, more lasting joy.
Okay.
It comes from connecting to your true self,
Yeah.
to that sense of something greater within you and beyond you.
So it's about that deep sense of peace and contentment
Yeah,
that comes from, living in alignment with your values and your purpose.
exactly. And you can often see it, it kind of radiates from people who are really walking an authentic spiritual path.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got this really great list of qualities to look for. But here's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
This document, it actually tells members of the Atlantean Brotherhood to avoid groups that don't fit these criteria.
Wow. They're pretty serious about this, huh?
Yeah, it's a pretty strong stance, right?
It is.
It makes you wonder what kind of experiences they must have had.
Right. Like, have they seen firsthand what can happen when people get involved with the wrong groups?
Yeah, exactly. Like, have they seen people get hurt, get disillusioned?
Yeah, it really makes you want to know more about their history.
It adds a whole other layer to this document.
It does.
It's not just theory. It's like it's coming from a place of experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about the potential dangers.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about what to look for in a genuine spiritual path.
Right, right.
But how do we actually do this? How do we,
Yeah.
how do we navigate this whole landscape?
Well, that's what we're going to talk about next.
Awesome, I'm ready.
Me too. As we dig into this document from the Atlantean Brotherhood. Yeah.
It's really striking how seriously they take this whole thing.
What do you mean?
Well, like they're not just saying, "Hey, be careful out there."
Mm-hmm.
They're like straight up telling their members to avoid
Yeah.
anything that doesn't match their definition of authentic spirituality.
Right, right.
It's almost like they're treating it like a dangerous disease or something.
Oh, that's an interesting way to put it.
Yeah, like they've seen what happens when people get infected.
That makes you wonder what kind of experiences they must have had.
Exactly.
Like, have they seen people get hurt or, get pulled into these groups that end up being harmful?
It wouldn't be surprising, would it?
No, not at all.
I mean, if that's the case, then this document, it's not just some abstract philosophy,
Right.
It's like a warning coming from a place of real experience.
A cautionary tale.
Exactly.
So thinking about that, it makes me think about discernment in general.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's not just about spirituality, right?
Not at all. It's about how we navigate the world, how we decide what to believe, what to trust.
Right, because we're constantly bombarded with information and ideas.
Exactly.
And it's coming from everywhere.
It's overwhelming.
It is, it is.
So how do we sort through all that noise and figure out what's real, what's actually good for us?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is. It is.
And I think this document, even though it's specifically about spirituality, it actually gives us some clues about how to do that.
Okay, I like that.
Like how to develop that inner radar you're talking about.
Yeah.
So we can make wise choices.
Okay, so let's talk about that.
Right?
What are some of the key takeaways from this document?
Well, one of the things they really emphasize is the importance of aligning with universal truths.
Okay, universal truths. What do they mean by that?
So it's not about like blindly accepting some specific dogma. It's about recognizing those fundamental principles that seem to like resonate across cultures and time periods.
Oh, I see. So like what? Give me an example.
Sure, think about the golden rule.
Okay.
Do unto others.
As you would have them do unto you.
Exactly. That's something you find in so many different traditions.
Right.
It speaks to this basic understanding of our interconnectedness and the importance of treating each other with kindness and compassion.
Okay, so it's about looking for those core values.
Yes.
Love, compassion, honesty, things like that.
Exactly. And if a teaching leads you away from those values, if it encourages you to act in ways that are harmful, that's a huge red flag.
No matter how appealing it might sound.
Exactly. No matter how charismatic the leader is.
Yeah.
If the core values are off, then something's wrong.
The whole thing's suspect.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so that's a really helpful guideline.
I think so.
Like those values are kind of like a compass to help us navigate through all the different teachings and ideas out there.
Exactly, because authentic spirituality, it should ultimately lead us towards being better people.
Becoming more compassionate, more wise.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
So, we've been talking about the Atlantean Brotherhood and their perspective on all of this.
Right.
And it seems like they're coming from a place of real experience, like we were saying.
Yeah, it really does.
Like they've seen what can happen when things go wrong.
Exactly.
So I'm curious, what do we know about their history?
Well, that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
Their strong stance on this, it really suggests they might have encountered some of these, harmful teachings firsthand.
Right, like they've seen the damage that can be done.
Yeah. And maybe they've even, been victims of it themselves.
That's a possibility.
It is. And it would be fascinating to dig into their story a little more to see if we can uncover any specific instances that shaped their views.
Yeah, to understand why they're so passionate about this.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've explored the potential pitfalls, the characteristics of authentic spirituality, and the importance of discernment, in all areas of life.
Right.
But before we wrap up, I want to bring it back to our listeners.
Of course.
Because, we've given them a lot to think about.
We have.
But what are some practical things they can do?
Okay, good question.
Like, especially if they're, they're interested in exploring spirituality, but maybe they're feeling a little overwhelmed, a little unsure where to start.
Right. So if I had to boil it down to a few key takeaways,
Yeah.
I'd say first and foremost, trust your gut.
Okay, trust your intuition.
Yes. If something feels off,
Mm-hmm.
don't ignore that feeling.
Yeah, even if it goes against what everyone else is saying.
Exactly, because your inner wisdom, it's a powerful guide.
Right, right.
And then don't be afraid to ask questions.
Okay.
Do your research, seek out different perspectives.
So, like, don't just accept something because someone tells you to.
Right, be curious, explore different traditions, and see what resonates with you.
It's about taking ownership of your own spiritual journey.
Exactly. It's not about blindly following someone else's path. It's about finding your own.
That makes sense.
And remember, authentic spirituality, it's not a destination.
Okay.
It's a journey. It's about continuous growth and learning, about becoming a better person, more compassionate, more wise.
I like that.
Yeah, and it's about connecting to something bigger than yourself.
Right, finding that sense of meaning and purpose.
Exactly.
But it's also about being aware of the potential dangers,
Oh, absolutely.
about recognizing the red flags, protecting yourself from manipulation.
Yes, because unfortunately, there are people out there who will take advantage
Yeah.
of those who are seeking.
And that's where this document from the Atlantean Brotherhood is really helpful.
It is. It's like a guidebook for navigating this complex landscape.
Okay, so to sum it all up,
Yeah.
authentic spirituality, it's about finding a path that nourishes your soul,
Yes.
helps you grow,
Yeah.
helps you connect with something greater.
And helps you become the best version of yourself.
Exactly. But it's also about being discerning, being aware
Yeah.
of the potential pitfalls.
Right. Using your head and your heart.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Wow. It's amazing how much we've uncovered about this whole idea of authentic spirituality.
I know, right? We've gone from the basics to the dangers to like the history of this whole Atlantean Brotherhood thing.
It's been quite a journey.
Yeah, it has.
And we've only just scratched the surface, really.
That's true, but I think we've given our listeners some good stuff to think about.
For sure. For sure. They've got that spiritual radar now, that inner compass.
Exactly.
Help them navigate all of this.
And as we wrap up this deep dive, I wanna leave you with one final thought.
Okay, hit me with it.
What if we take all this stuff we've been talking about authenticity, and apply it to other areas of our lives?
Ooh, I like that. That's interesting. Yeah, tell me more.
Well, we talked about, evaluating self-help books, choosing mentors, but think about the news we consume.
Okay.
How do we know if we're getting the real story?
Right.
Or the products we buy? Are we supporting companies that align with our values?
Yeah.
It's like we need that BS detector on high alert all the time.
All the time for everything.
Exactly. And the tools we've been talking about, critical thinking, intuition, seeking different perspectives, aligning with universal truths.
Those are all important, not just for spirituality.
Right. For life.
Yeah, for everything.
Exactly.
This has been a really great conversation.
I agree.
It's like we've gone from authentic spirituality to like authentic living.
I love that. Authentic living. That's perfect.
So for our listeners out there,
Yeah.
authentic spirituality, it's not just some, far out concept.
Right.
It's about bringing that wisdom, that compassion into everything we do.
Exactly. It's about living our values every day.
And that journey of self-discovery.
Yeah.
It never really ends, does it?
I don't think so.
There's always more to learn, more to explore, more ways to grow, to connect.
And that's the beauty of it, isn't it?
It is. It is. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive.
Okay.
But before we go, I want to leave our listeners with one last thought.
Right.
This quest for authenticity, whether it's in spirituality or in life in general.
Yeah.
It's a journey worth taking.
Absolutely.
It's not always easy.
No.
But it's so rewarding.
It is.
So keep seeking, keep questioning, keep trusting that inner compass, and never stop exploring.
Well said.
Who knows what you might find.
Exactly.
Yeah.